everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into how to make it through those tough tech interviews. You know, the ones at Google, Facebook, Amazon.
Exactly.
And one of our listeners actually sent in this great guide from a company called Algocademy.
Hmm.
It's really awesome, has a lot of great tips.
Yeah, it's really comprehensive. I mean, getting hired at one of these companies is not easy. The interview process is pretty intense.
Right.
But this guide, I think, does a good job of kind of breaking it all down and making it feel doable, even if you're just starting to prepare.
So you're saying there's hope for us mere mortals?
Absolutely. There's hope for everyone.
Okay, good. I was a little worried there for a second. So the guide mentions this idea of a secret weapon, like
Yeah.
something that even experienced people might be missing.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely get to that.
Okay, good. Don't leave me hanging.
But first, let's just kind of demystify the process itself,
Yeah.
The guide does a good job of breaking down the typical tech interview structure. And it's pretty consistent across all these companies.
So they all kind of follow the same playbook?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. So it usually starts with an initial screening, just a quick chat with the recruiter, usually.
Okay.
They're just checking for basic qualifications, making sure you're a real person, and kind of gauging your interest in the role.
Makes sense. Got to weed out the bots, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what happens next?
Well, then things start to ramp up a bit with the technical phone screen.
Right. This is where the coding comes in.
Exactly. And this is where it gets interesting, because the guide emphasizes that it's not just about writing correct code.
Oh, okay.
They're looking for problem-solving skills, not just, memorized answers.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about being a code monkey.
Right.
You have to be able to think.
Exactly. It's about, can you apply your knowledge to a novel problem?
That makes sense.
And that's really where the guide's focus on data structures and algorithms comes in.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because the guide lists a bunch of key data structures. Arrays, linked lists, stacks, queues. It's a lot to take in.
It can seem like a lot, yeah. But think of it like, learning the alphabet before you can write a novel.
Got it. The building blocks.
Exactly. Master the fundamentals.
So should I just be, like, memorizing all these things, flashcards, that kind of thing?
No, definitely not. I mean, rote memorization won't get you very far.
Okay.
It's more about understanding the concepts, the
Right.
why behind it all.
So it's not just about passing the interview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is about becoming a better engineer overall.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do I actually learn this stuff? The guide talks a lot about practicing coding problems.
Practice is absolutely key. There's really no substitute for getting your hands dirty and writing code.
All right. Give me the specifics. What should I be doing?
So the guide recommends online platforms like LeetCode, HackerRank, CodeSignal. They offer these huge libraries of problems,
Mm-hmm.
and they're categorized by difficulty and even by company.
Oh, wow.
So you can focus on Google-specific questions if that's your goal.
So I don't have to, like, practice on Facebook problems if I'm trying to get into Google.
Exactly. Yeah, you can really target your practice.
That's pretty cool. I didn't realize these platforms were that specific.
Yeah, they've gotten really sophisticated. And what I love about them is that they often have these discussion forums, so you can see how other people have solved the same problem.
Oh, that's really helpful.
It is, yeah. You get to see different approaches, different coding styles. It's really valuable.
Kind of like a community of coders.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so the guide also talks about quality over quantity when it comes to practice.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in this context?
So it can be tempting to just race through as many problems as possible, but it's much more effective to spend the time to really understand the why behind the solution.
So depth over breadth.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Pick a problem, wrestle with it,
Yeah.
explore different approaches. Don't just go for the quick fix.
Okay, that makes sense. What about timing myself? I mean, I know interviews are timed, so should I be practicing that way?
Absolutely, yeah. You want to get used to thinking under pressure.
Right.
I used to set a timer, like for 30 minutes, and try to solve a problem within that time.
Mm-hmm.
But even if I didn't finish, I would keep working on it afterward.
Oh, I see. So you get the practice of, like, working under the gun,
Right.
but you also don't sacrifice actually learning the material.
Yeah, exactly. You want to strike that balance.
Got it. The guide also mentions reviewing solutions. I feel like that's something people might skip.
It's crucial, though, right? Think of it as learning from others.
Oh, okay.
You might come up with a working solution, but someone else might have a more elegant approach, or they might have spotted an edge case that you missed.
I see. So it's like having a code review, even before you actually submit your code.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, let's move on to one of the most intriguing things in this guide. This idea of thinking aloud.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds kind of like a spy movie.
Right.
Like, Mission Impossible Coding Edition.
Yeah. The guide calls it a secret weapon.
Okay.
And I can see why. It's about explaining your thought process as you code.
Wait, so they want me to talk to myself while I'm coding?
It might sound a little strange,
Mm.
especially if you're used to coding in solitude, right?
Yeah.
But interviewers aren't just looking for the right answer.
Okay.
They want to understand how you think, how you break down a problem, how you arrive at a solution.
So it's like showing your work.
Exactly.
Not just like, poof, here's the answer.
Exactly, yeah. By thinking aloud, you're giving them a window into your brain. They can see your logic, your decision-making process, even how you handle roadblocks.
That makes sense. But how do I practice something like that? Talking to myself, it feels kind of weird.
Well, the guide suggests practicing with a friend, or even just recording yourself.
Oh, okay.
It might feel a little awkward at first, but it's incredibly helpful. You start to notice patterns in your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe places where you get stuck or where your explanations aren't as clear.
So it's like watching game film
Exactly.
to see where you can improve.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've covered the basics, but the guide also mentions system design questions,
Mhm.
especially for senior roles.
Right.
Why are those such a big deal?
Well, as you progress in your career, you're not just writing code anymore.
Right.
You're designing systems, architectures, thinking about the big picture.
Okay.
So in interviews for senior roles, they really want to see if you can think at that higher level. Consider things like scalability, reliability, performance.
So it's less about writing a single function and more about how everything fits together.
Exactly. And
Okay.
system design questions can be intimidating. They're often very open-ended.
Oh, no. Open-ended questions are the worst. Like,
Right.
where do you even begin?
Well, that's the challenge, right? They might ask you to design a social media platform
Right.
or a ride-sharing app. There's no single right answer. It's about demonstrating your ability to break down the problem. Think through the different components, the trade-offs, the potential challenges.
I'm starting to sweat just thinking about it.
But it's all about breaking it down.
Okay.
For example, the guide mentions things like scalability, load balancing, database sharding, caching mechanisms.
Right.
Sounds complicated, but it's really about understanding the concepts behind each of those things.
Okay. So give me an example. Like, how does this stuff actually work in the real world?
Sure. Let's talk about caching.
Okay.
You know how Instagram stories disappear after 24 hours?
Yeah.
They're not constantly deleting that data from their main database.
Oh, really?
Instead, they're temporarily storing it in a fast access cache.
Oh, okay. So it's like a short-term memory for frequently used data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes things much faster and more efficient.
So learning about these concepts, even if I'm not designing entire systems yet, it will make me a better programmer.
Absolutely. Yeah. It encourages you to think about how your code fits into the bigger picture.
Okay. Got it. So the guide suggests a few other things like mock interviews and even peer programming, as prep tools.
Yeah. Because simulating the interview environment is really, really important. You want to get used to the pressure, the time constraints, the feeling of being put on the spot.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like practicing for a big game or, a performance.
Right. You wouldn't just walk out on stage without rehearsing.
Exactly.
So are there platforms for this? For doing mock interviews?
Yeah, there are actually. The guide mentions ones like Pramp and interviewing.io.
Okay.
They do peer-to-peer mock interviews.
Huh.
So you're practicing with other people who are also prepping for interviews,
Oh, I see.
which is great because you get practice with the technical questions, but you also get feedback
Mm-hmm.
on your communication skills, your problem-solving approach, even things like body language.
Just like having a coach in your corner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guide emphasizes getting diverse feedback too.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Well, if you only practice with people who think exactly like you,
Mm,
you're not getting exposed to different perspectives.
that's true. It's like cross-training for your brain.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to something that I think often gets overlooked. Behavioral questions.
Mm-hmm.
The guide emphasizes that they're just as important as the technical ones. Why is that?
Technical skills are only one piece of the puzzle, right?
Okay.
Top tech companies want well-rounded individuals. People who can code, yes, but also work well in teams, communicate clearly, handle tricky situations.
It's the whole package.
Exactly. And that's where the behavioral questions come in.
So they want to know about my personality,
Mm.
my soft skills, that kind of thing.
Yeah. How would you fit into their company culture?
So what kinds of questions should I expect?
Be prepared for questions about handling conflict, teamwork, tight deadlines,
Oh,
how you learn from your mistakes. It's all about showcasing your interpersonal skills,
okay.
giving them a sense of who you are as a person.
So any tips on how to answer these questions?
Yeah, so the guide mentions the STAR method.
The STAR method.
It stands for situation, task, action, result.
Okay.
It's basically a framework for structuring your answers. It helps you tell a clear, concise story.
I like stories.
Right. So you start by describing the situation. Then you talk about the task you were facing,
Okay.
the action you took, and then the result of your actions.
So give me an example. Let's say they ask me about a time I had to deal with a difficult teammate.
Sure. So you could start by describing the situation. Maybe you were on a group project and one person just wasn't pulling their weight.
Okay, yeah, classic.
Right.
In there.
So the task was to address the situation without creating conflict.
Yeah. Don't want to start a war.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the action you took might have been to have a one-on-one conversation with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Express your concerns respectfully. And then the result was that they stepped up and the project got completed successfully.
Okay, so it's a clear, concise story that highlights my ability to deal with a tough situation.
Exactly. And remember, be authentic. Don't make up stories or exaggerate.
Be myself.
Interviewers can usually spot a fake a mile away.
Okay, good advice. So we've talked about behavioral questions. Let's move on to some of the bonus tips in this guide. Staying updated with industry trends. Why is that so important for tech interviews?
Well, the tech industry is constantly evolving, right?
Yeah, moves fast.
So you need to show the interviewers that you're keeping up,
Mm-hmm.
that you're passionate about technology and you're adaptable.
Okay, I can see that.
It demonstrates that you're a lifelong learner.
Makes sense. So how do I stay on top of everything? I mean, there's so much out there.
There is. It can be overwhelming, but the guide mentions things like following tech blogs, attending webinars, participating in online communities.
Any favorites you would recommend?
Oh, tons. There are great tech blogs out there like TechCrunch, The Verge, Ars Technica. Webinars are great for deep dives into specific topics. And then online communities like Reddit, Hacker News keep you updated on all the latest buzz.
Okay. And don't forget podcasts like this one. Right? Try to keep you informed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the guide also mentions optimizing your resume and online presence.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a no-brainer, but I guess it's worth emphasizing.
Yeah, your resume is often the first impression you make.
That's true.
So it's to be clear, concise, tailored to the specific job you're applying for.
Okay.
Highlight your relevant skills and experience.
Yeah.
Quantify your accomplishments.
Right.
And make sure it's free of typos.
Yeah, that's a big one. Nobody's perfect, but typos can be a killer.
They can. And don't forget about your online presence, especially LinkedIn.
Right.
It's often the first place recruiters go to check you out, make sure your profile's up to date, it's professional, showcases your best work.
Okay, last but not least, the guide talks about online learning resources. And I have to say, there's so much out there, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, absolutely. But there are some amazing resources out there.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Platforms like Coursera, EDX, Udacity, they have fantastic courses on everything from data structures to machine learning. And don't underestimate the power of YouTube. Yeah. There are tons of channels out there that break down complex tech concepts, like in a really clear and engaging way.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. Any particular favorites?
One I particularly like is called Back to Back SWE.
Okay.
They have a great series on coding interview prep.
Awesome. And, of course, there's the classic Cracking the Coding interview book.
Yes. The Bible of Tech Interview Prep.
I remember that one.
It covers everything. Data structures, algorithms, behavioral questions, system design. It's a must-read for anyone serious about landing a top tech job.
So we've covered a ton of ground just in this first part. From understanding the interview process to data structures and algorithms, practicing those problems, to acing the behavioral stuff. And then there's that secret weapon we keep talking about.
Right.
We'll reveal it in part 2, so stay tuned.
So we were talking about how important it is to be a lifelong learner in tech.
Right. Always learning, always growing.
Exactly. And one way to do that, which the guide mentions, but I think deserves a little more attention, is contributing to open source projects.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't really thought about that in the context of interview prep.
Yeah, it's a fantastic way to show potential employers that you're not just passively consuming knowledge, but you're actually applying it.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives you real-world experience collaborating with other developers, which is a huge plus for any tech company.
So not only am I learning and improving my skills, but I'm also building a portfolio
Exactly.
that kind of shows what I can do.
It speaks volumes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So shifting gears a bit, let's talk about something the guide calls out as a common pitfall for candidates neglecting to prepare for whiteboard coding.
Ugh, whiteboard coding.
Yeah, I still have nightmares about the time I froze up during an on-site interview and just stared blankly at that giant white expanse.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
But remember, the interviewers aren't looking for perfection.
Okay.
They want to see how you think on your feet,
Yeah.
how you approach a problem when you don't have the comfort of, your usual coding environment.
So it's more about problem-solving skills and adaptability than, writing perfect code from memory.
Absolutely. And here's a tip. The guide doesn't mention practice explaining your code as if you were teaching it to someone who's never coded before.
Oh, that's a good one.
It forces you to break down complex concepts into simpler terms, which is a valuable skill in any technical role.
Yeah, it makes you really think about the logic behind the code, not just the syntax.
Exactly.
Speaking of understanding logic, the guide also touches on the importance of having a structured approach to problem solving.
Yeah, it's crucial. Having a clear framework helps you stay calm and organized under pressure,
Right.
which is essential in an interview situation.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So the guide outlines a really helpful approach.
Okay, lay it on me.
First, understand the problem thoroughly.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions to make sure you and the interviewer are on the same page.
So it's okay to ask questions?
Yeah.
I always thought that would make me look clueless.
No, not at all. Asking thoughtful questions demonstrates that you're thorough and analytical.
Okay.
It shows that you're not just rushing into a solution without considering all the angles.
Got it.
Once you understand the problem, analyze the constraints, things like time and space complexity.
Right, because the most efficient solution isn't always the best one if it takes up too much memory or processing power.
Exactly. It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Okay.
Then comes the fun part, brainstorming, different approaches.
Okay.
Don't just jump into coding. Think about multiple ways to solve the problem. Weigh the pros and cons of each approach.
So it's like having a blueprint before you start building a house.
Exactly. It makes the whole process smoother and more organized.
I like that.
Once you have a plan, design your algorithm clearly before you start writing any code.
Okay. So it's like plan the route before you start driving.
Exactly.
Got it.
Then you can start implementing your solution, writing clean, readable code.
Yeah.
The kind that other engineers would be happy to work with.
Right. Make it pretty.
Exactly.
And of course, don't forget to test and debug.
Absolutely. Make sure your code actually works and handle those pesky edge cases.
Right. Got to catch those bugs.
And finally, think about optimization. Can you make your code more efficient? Are there alternative solutions that might be even better?
Okay.
Discussing these things with the interviewers shows that you're thinking critically and going beyond the bare minimum.
It's like going the extra mile.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. The guide also mentions a few things that surprised me, like the fact that some companies might ask you about your favorite programming language or your preferred development tools.
It's true. While these questions might seem trivial, they can actually reveal a lot about your technical depth and preferences.
Oh,
For example, if you're applying for a role that heavily involves front-end development and you express a deep passion for, a back-end language, it might raise a red flag.
yeah, that makes sense. It's about aligning your interests and expertise with the specific role
Exactly.
and the company's tech stack.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered the technical stuff pretty thoroughly, but the guide also stresses the importance of soft skills.
Rightly so. Remember, technical expertise is only one part of the equation.
Okay.
You also need to demonstrate that you can work effectively in a team, communicate clearly, handle challenging situations with grace.
It's all about being a well-rounded individual, not just a coding machine.
Exactly. And one aspect of soft skills that often gets overlooked is the ability to listen attentively.
Wait, you're telling me I need to pay attention when someone's talking to me revolutionary?
Right, but seriously, it's crucial in an interview setting.
Okay, why is listening so important?
When you actively listen to the interviewer, you're not just absorbing information.
Okay.
You're demonstrating respect engagement, a genuine interest in what they have to say.
Okay.
Plus, it helps you avoid misinterpreting questions or going off on tangents that aren't relevant.
So you don't end up digging yourself into a hole with an answer that completely misses the mark.
Exactly.
Got it. Active listening. Check. What other soft skills should I be focusing on?
Well, the guide highlights communication as a key factor.
Oh, okay.
And it's not just about speaking clearly and concisely. It's about tailoring your communication style to your audience.
Oh.
Remember, you were talking to technical experts, but also potentially to non-technical folks like HR, project managers.
So I need to be able to explain complex technical concepts in a way that everyone can understand.
Think about how you would explain a complex algorithm to your grandma.
Oh boy.
Can you break it down into simple terms without losing the essence of the concept?
That's a challenge, but I see your point. Being able to communicate effectively across different levels of technical understanding is a valuable skill.
Absolutely, and it shows that you can collaborate effectively with diverse teams, which is essential in any modern tech company.
Right, it's all about teamwork.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. The guide also emphasizes the importance of showcasing your passion and enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah, because nobody wants to work with someone who's just going through the motions, right?
No, for sure.
Tech companies want people who are genuinely excited about technology,
Right.
who are driven to learn and grow, and who bring positive energy to the team.
So how do I convey that passion during an interview? Should I just jump up and down and shout, I love coding?
Well, maybe not that enthusiastically,
Okay.
but you can show your passion by talking about personal projects. You've worked on technologies. You're excited about challenges you've overcome.
Okay.
Let your enthusiasm shine through in your words and your body language.
So it's about showing them that I'm not just looking for a job. I'm looking for an opportunity to really learn and grow and contribute to something meaningful.
Precisely.
Okay, I like that. And that brings us back to the secret weapon that the guide keeps teasing.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, the mysterious secret weapon that's supposed to give me an edge. Spill the beans already. Huh. What is it?
Are you ready for that?
I'm on the edge of my seat.
The secret weapon is storytelling.
Storytelling? Wait, what? I thought this was about coding, not writing fairy tales.
Hear me out. It's not about spinning elaborate yarns.
Okay.
It's about using stories to connect with your interviewer,
Okay.
to make your answers more memorable and impactful, and to showcase your skills and experiences in a way that resonates.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but how exactly does storytelling work in a tech interview?
Think about it when you're answering a behavioral question, like, tell me about a time you failed.
Mm-hmm.
A dry, factual response isn't going to leave much of an impression. But if you framed your answer as a story, with a beginning, a middle, and an end, it becomes more engaging and memorable.
So instead of just stating the facts, I'm painting a picture, drawing the interviewer into my experience.
Exactly. And by weaving in details and emotions, you're creating a connection, making your answer more human and relatable.
Okay. I see it helps the interviewer see me as a person, not just a resume.
Right.
Okay. I'm starting to see the power of storytelling, but how do I incorporate it into my answers without sounding like I'm making things up?
The key is to draw from your own experiences. Think about challenges you've overcome, projects. You're proud of lessons you've learned along the way.
Okay.
And remember, stories don't have to be epic or dramatic. Even a simple anecdote can be effective if it's told well.
So it's about finding the right story for the right question and telling it in a way that's authentic and engaging.
Exactly. And here's a bonus tip: practice telling your stories beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Refine your delivery, identify the key takeaways, and make sure the story flows naturally.
So I don't sound like a robot.
Exactly. The more comfortable you are with your stories, the more confident you'll feel during the interview.
That makes a lot of sense. Practice makes perfect, or at least it makes you more confident and polished.
Right.
Okay, so storytelling, the secret weapon to acing those tech interviews. Who knew?
Right. It's a powerful tool that's often overlooked. But remember, storytelling is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
You still need to master the technical fundamentals, practice your coding skills, and prepare for those behavioral questions.
It's all about putting together a comprehensive strategy using all the tools at your disposal.
Exactly.
And speaking of tools, the guide also talks about the importance of having a strong online presence, especially on platforms like GitHub.
Absolutely. Your GitHub profile is like a digital portfolio,
Okay.
showcasing your coding skills, projects, and contributions to the open source community. It's a great way for potential employers to get a glimpse of your work ethic and technical abilities.
So it's not just about having a profile, it's about actively using it to showcase my skills and passion for coding.
Exactly. Think of it as a living, breathing resume. Contribute to open source projects, create personal projects, and make sure your code is well documented and easy to understand.
Got it.
It's a great way to demonstrate your commitment to continuous learning and improvement.
Okay, I'm convinced. GitHub, here I come.
Awesome.
But let's face it, preparing for tech interviews can be a daunting task.
You can be, yeah.
There's so much to learn, so many resources to sift through. It's easy to feel overwhelmed. Any advice for staying motivated and focused throughout this process?
Remember why you're doing this. Are you passionate about solving complex problems? Do you dream of working at a company that's pushing the boundaries of technology? Keep that vision in mind as you're, grinding through leak code problems or practicing your whiteboard coding skills.
So it's about connecting the dots between the daily grind and the bigger picture, remembering why this all matters.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this journey.
Okay.
There are countless online communities, forums, study groups where you can connect with other people who are going through the same thing.
It's a reminder that we're all in this together, facing the same challenges, striving for the same goals.
Absolutely. There's strength in numbers, right?
Yes, there is.
And don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance along the way.
Hmm.
Whether it's a mentor, a friend, or an online community, there's always someone out there who's willing to lend a hand.
I love that it's a reminder that we don't have to go through this alone.
Exactly.
There's a whole support system out there waiting to be tapped into.
Exactly. And one final piece of advice: celebrate your progress along the way.
Oh, okay.
Acknowledge your accomplishments, big and small.
Okay.
Whether it's solving a tricky coding problem, nailing a mock interview, or simply dedicating time to your preparation, take a moment to appreciate how far you've come.
It's about recognizing and rewarding yourself for the effort you're putting in.
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure and forget to celebrate the wins along the way.
Yeah, that's so true.
Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint pace. Yourself, stay focused, and don't forget to enjoy the journey.
Words to live by.
Now, I know you're eager to get to the grand finale of this guide, so let's move on to part 3, where we'll unveil the ultimate secret to acing those tech interviews.
You're killing me with the suspense, but all right, let's wrap up part 2 and get ready for the grand reveal, listeners. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll uncover the final piece of the puzzle, the ultimate secret to tech interview success. Okay, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into how to absolutely crush it in those tech interviews. And we've talked about a lot, from the technical stuff to the behavioral questions, the power of storytelling.
Right.
And you've been teasing this final secret, the ultimate key to unlocking success.
Yeah.
So lay it on me. What is it?
Well, the truth is, it's not some, magic formula or guaranteed shortcut.
Okay.
It's more of a mindset shift.
Yeah.
A way of approaching the whole process.
Okay.
That can really help increase your chances.
All right. I'm all about mindset shifts. So tell me, what is it?
It's about reframing the interview as a collaboration, not an interrogation.
A collaboration? But I thought interviews were all about, proving myself, showing off my skills, convincing them to hire me.
That's definitely part of it. But the best tech companies aren't just looking for brilliant coders.
Right.
They're looking for people who can work effectively with others, who can, contribute to a team, communicate their ideas clearly,
Okay, yeah.
and who are genuinely excited about solving problems.
So it's not just about me, and my skills.
Right. It's about showing them you can be a valuable team player.
I see. So when you approach it as a collaboration, you're not just trying to impress the interviewer, you're trying to work together with them.
Exactly. To solve a problem, explore different approaches, even learn from each other.
Okay. That takes a little bit of the pressure off, right?
It does, yeah.
Instead of feeling like I'm, under a microscope, it's more like a conversation.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it. When you're genuinely engaged in a collaborative discussion, your passion, your curiosity, your problem-solving skills, they all shine through naturally.
So it's it feels more authentic, right?
It does. It's more like a natural conversation than a stiff, rehearsed presentation.
Okay. So how do I actually cultivate this mindset, this collaborative mindset? Give me the steps.
Well, first, ditch the idea that the interviewer is like an adversary.
Right.
Or a judge. Think of them as a potential teammate.
Okay.
Someone you're trying to connect with.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that starts with active listening.
Right. We talked about that in part 2.
Exactly. Pay attention to what they're saying, ask clarifying questions, show them you're interested. It's about showing that you're there to learn from them too.
Got it. Not just trying to sell myself the whole time.
Right. And when you approach it this way, the whole dynamic shifts. It becomes less about proving yourself and more about exploring possibilities together.
That sounds way less scary and more, I don't know, fun.
It should be fun. It should be engaging. And here's another key element of this collaborative mindset. Don't be afraid to admit when you don't know something.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying it's okay to say, I don't know in a tech interview? I thought that was the kiss of death.
It's all about how you say it. No one expects you to know everything.
Okay.
But what they want to see is how you handle those moments of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Do you panic or do you stay calm?
Okay.
Acknowledge the gap in your knowledge and show them that you're willing to learn.
So it's about being humble and curious.
Exactly. Instead of trying to, bluff your way through it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Here's a pro tip. When you get a question you don't know the answer to, try to turn it into a learning opportunity. Say something like, "That's a great question. I'm not familiar with that specific concept, but I'm eager to learn more. Could you maybe explain it to me?" And then we can explore some potential solutions together.
Wow. Okay, that's really good. It's like instead of being a moment of weakness, it becomes a strength.
Right. It shows you're curious and eager to learn.
I like it. So this whole collaborative mindset, it really does seem like it can change the entire interview. It's not me versus them, it's us working together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you approach it that way, you not only increase your chances of impressing the interviewer, but you also make it more enjoyable for yourself.
Okay, that's a big deal.
Less stressful, more fun.
All right, I'm convinced. I'm going to try this. It feels more authentic to me anyway.
Good. I think you'll find it makes a world of difference. Remember, tech interviews are as much about finding the right fit as they are about showcasing your skills.
Okay.
When you approach it as a collaboration, you're not just trying to get the job, you're trying to find a team and a company where you can really thrive.
That's such a good point. It's about finding a place where I belong, not just any job.
Right. And when you go in with that mindset, you're more likely to relax, be yourself, and let your brilliance shine through.
I love that. This has been such an awesome deep dive into this whole world. We've learned so much, even I've learned a ton.
It's been fun.
So to wrap it all up, I hope our listeners feel ready to tackle those tech interviews head on.
Me too.
Remember, preparation is key. Practice makes progress.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to embrace that collaborative spirit.
And most importantly, believe in yourself.
Yes, believe in yourself. Until next time, happy coding.